Looking to catch bass in March and haven't had much luck, or you're getting into it for the first time, you're in the right place. Myself, Fishing with Gramps and Seth Taylor, also known as SoFlo, is going to break down how to catch bass in March. Now, pay special attention to Seth Taylor. He just won the team division for the Ocalapalooza Kayak Adventure Series, as well as third overall, and I think there was like 80 total anglers in that tournament. Let's hop in.
When you're first getting off that post ice, that pre-spawn, you know, when the water's starting to hit those 40s to 50s, finally getting somewhere. Growing up, we always were taught to throw a big bladed Colorado blade spinnerbait. But in lieu of that, I've found, and I couldn't find my actual ones, but I had an old school angler give me a bladed jig, a big bladed jig, and it's literally a jig head with a big blade on it. And probably I was so mad because I was smashing fish, and this was a quiet. And then Z-Man came out with the big blade chatterbait. I'm like, you poached on my secret sauce. Which these I mean, and for those watching the video, the blade on this is probably a third yet bigger than the big blade chatterbait. But slow rolling those big blade chatterbaits like this in that, and you think about early spring, we always get those rains. You always, the snow's melting, there's mud and dirt run off into your water, so you got that stained color. And when that water temp gets, in that 50 to 55 range, just the big thump. I got a video on a lake me and Jeremy was at a few years ago.
Yeah. And
I mean, there was probably 10 or 12 4 or 5 pound bass just back to back to back. I mean, it wasn't every cast, but it was a day. But so that big blade, I really love to get them thumping. Then when it clears up a little bit and we know the bass are able to, because they still eat, it doesn't matter how dirty the water is. But when it starts to clean up a little bit and they're chasing those smaller, the smaller fish that were spawned the year before, chatterbait mini max. Forever in a day.
You and your chatterbait every month of the year.
I will throw this mini max year round, and it does. I'll go to the full size jackhammer when it's like summer to fall, but then fall when after the bait fish are doing. But this chatterbait mini max,
is that a mooch on the back?
Oh yeah.
Is that crush?
No, this isn't the mooch. This is the one from Missile Baits.
Okay.
But I do have some mooch back here somewhere.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
I saw them. I was at Bass Pro in Arizona this past week. I was like, ooh, this looks juicy. By the way, for those listening and you can't see this, but solid background sign there. Who
oh yeah, we already talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Dang it, never mind. Can't discuss it twice. I'll talk to you later about it, Gramps.
Yeah, that is a sweet sign though.
Keep it.
Now one of the staples. One of the staples this time of year too, when that water stained, and a lot of people don't maybe not understand this too, because you hear a lot of folks talk about throwing stuff that's red, and they're like, oh, the crawdads are doing this and that. Well, what the red and the crawdad symbolizes, it's they people talk about like they hibernate and then they come out. Well, they bury themselves in, but they're basically active year round. But what the red and the crawdads really is, that's like their mating season sign. So when that water temp hits 55 degrees, the craws are actually turning that red tint for the first time early in the season because it's Twitter painting time, if you know what I'm saying.
Twitter painting.
So a lot of anglers you'll see pick up. You got to go through a little Gen X throwback there.
Oh yeah, go for it.
But you'll see a lot of anglers pick up and throw those red baits. So obviously a red chatterbait with a red crawl on it. One of the favorites of a lot of people are like the red flat side crankbaits if you're into cranking. Because these, it's a lot easier to pull these through like the wood and everything else, rocky banks. And in chunk rock banks, if you fish along bridges and things like that, baits like this and the red chatterbaits, again, that 50 to 55 degree water temp, they just smash.
When I think 55 degrees,
active.
I think flat side. That's where I start looking for my flat sides, right when it hits 55.
Now, if your water's still cold, you're getting out way before anybody's chasing anything. Everybody starts the season
there it
throwing
is.
a jerk bait in a little bit deeper water. And so even if you've got, the Gold Garmin Striker 4, your little Helix 5 and you got down imaging, you can move around a little bit and see those fish down in the water column just kind of suspending around. And then that's when you start to grab your jerk baits or your, like this is a Vision 110 or a Vision 110 plus one or two, depending how deep they are. And then you're down there super slow. You throw it on a spinning rod if you don't have a bait cast set up for it, but slow twitches, long pauses. And I mean long pauses even up to 10, 15 seconds. And I know some people will twitch and let it sit there for like 30 seconds. But you're talking super. You're like, I got a 55-degree day. That water temperature is still 40. I got to go fishing. What am I going to pick up? A jerk bait, because it's probably the only thing that's going to move slow enough for those bass to even want to look at. But
so real quick, that Vision 110, that's not an inexpensive bait.
No, you're in. Well, I mean, I don't fish with inexpensive stuff either. I won't say criticized. My buddies like throwing some slack at me because they know Gramps got the folding money and I'm trying to prepare for retirement. So I'm investing in my later years gear. So I have a lot, I have a lot of better stuff.
No, good for you. I'm just saying I had Dalton Albright on. He's like, well, I was like, what do you fish with to catch those freaking donkeys you catch down there in Florida? And he's like, I think he said Vision 110s.
Yeah.
And I went to the Columbus Expo that you were at. We missed each other on the days because Super Bowl and you need to get back and get a longer drive. Awesome show, by the way. And I was in there looking at the Vision 110s and they're selling them for like the full size for like $25.
Oh, yeah.
You ain't messing around. I thought the Stunnas were expensive, Seth. Try to start and double up on the Vision 110s. Nonetheless,
you don't ever lose them, though. You have them forever. You just got to exchange the hooks.
I lost like a 7 at Gunnersville for that tournament.
Throw it on 4-pound line for trout.
What was it, 4-pound line? I bought 12-pound line at a freaking gas station for twice the amount that it was worth. Don't get me started.
But it's one of those things where they are that good. Now, if you order like over from overseas, like Digicata or someplace where we can at least play the exchange rate game, then you can save a few bucks and stuff like that too. But and plus I have a wonderful partnership where I get a little discount on baits and whatnot with American Legacy Fishing as well. So it does make it easier for me to swallow that pill, so to speak. But then when it warms up, I got one more bait. When it warms up and it's starting to be go time, there is nothing that's worked better for us the last couple of years. And I say us because I'm talking about me and my brother. But Strike King Rage Bug, and this is the Magnum. But the little trick, sorry, Jeremy, I'm sharing the juice. But the little trick to these Strike King Rage Bugs, or if you like the Guggen Bandito bugs, or any of your other bigger style beaver baits with the good flappers, Texas rig these with a very lightweight, peg it, and you're not traditional Texas rigging it like you would just hop, hop, hop. You're swimming it like a crankbait. We fish these things along the banks, because a lot of times you get along rocky banks, or some of them you got that like sledge or sludge or whatever it is along the banks. You get caught up on all your good stuff. You can literally swim these Rage Bugs and just smash. And this will go all the way. This will go all the way till June. And I don't think it matters where you're at. Just swimming it like a little bluegill or something just brings them out.
I like it. So real quick, we got 75 live right now. If you're listening in, please help us out. Hit that like button, whether you're on Gramps' page, whether you're on my page. Doesn't matter. Appreciate you. All right, I got some comments over here. Let's go over here. I've been neglecting the comments a bit. All right, let me see what we have here. He says, here's a question from Bradley McPherson. He says, I live in Ohio, trying to get in these kayak tournaments. How do I go about that? Never have entered a tournament ever. One of my winter projects is fishing kayak, and I believe I've overdone it. I love it. So, of course, I think the best entry level, and this is my opinion, I think the best entry level tournament is going to be your monthly tournaments with KBF. That's where I cut my teeth. And if you want to learn your lessons there, you don't want to learn your lessons at a Kayak Adventure Series when you drop in $175 for the entry, or $250 in kayak, the Bassmaster. And so for $50 a month, and you got to be a member of KBF, you can learn all the lessons without learning them the hard way, right? And it's really a great way to get into using your catch board and learning the rules and getting fish DQ'd and not being that upset about it. And so head over to KBF, kayakbassfishing.com. Learn more about the state adventure, not state adventure series, just a state challenge series. And that's where I started. And
I'm telling a lot of people too, if even that intimidates you a little bit, hop in the Catch 22 challenge, because you learn all of the basics for $22. You're putting a $22. It's basically a donation to Heroes on the Water. You get your fish judged. It's your best 22 fish for the whole year. It runs all year long. And we've kind of used that as like training wheels for the people who then want to jump into the KBF month longs where you're competing for money and trophies and prizes and things like that. But both of those are a great way to get started. And if you get a fish DQ'd, you get feedback from a judge who will tell you kind of what you're doing wrong. And, you learn how to close the mouth and put your hand in the right place and do it all upright, get your identification code and all that. And the good thing, with either one of those, and maybe in the future of a knucklehead bass fishing series again, you can actually use those to qualify for the KBF National Championship, which is a big fun event down at Gunnersville again this year in the fall. But those are all like your stepping stones for, learning to get into kayak fishing tournaments. And then I'm sure there's probably, once you kind of get that down, then if you have some place like we have here in Southern Indiana with our Southern Indiana Yak Anglers Club, we have a group of guys get together, fish against each other. We pick a body of water and go fish. But the online derbs, it's the easiest way to do it. You can do it with a buddy. It makes it really fun too.
100%. I had a question from Bass Raft. What graph did Gramps say he got? The graph mount, I think specifically what he's talking about.
It's from Straight Up Mounts. It's STR, the letter 8, and up mounts. But I'll post some pictures. I haven't unboxed it yet. I'm a YouTuber.
How many hours do you have in your XTR still before that thing's waterworthy?
We're video makers. We don't get it to go too slow. We have to film it and edit it. And I keep saying I said I'm just going to do this thing and do an overview because I keep trying to set up cameras like I'm just going to be here forever. But no, it's a dual graph mount, and I'll probably have it on the kayak tomorrow. But I got to film an unboxing at least for shorts and reels and and all that nonsense, because that's what we do as content creators.
Our life's in slow motion, folks. You're like, hey, I'm going to go fishing. We're like, oh, we got to get the video camera. What it takes you an hour to do, it takes us 3 hours to do.
It takes days.
Gosh. And then we have weeks and sometimes months. And I know some people, they have external hard drives full of hundreds of hours of unedited film. I'm not like that, but I've talked to people who are like that, and so it's kind of wild and crazy. So
I zip through a lot of that stuff. If I think I'm going to keep it for B-roll for later, then I'll cut a clip of it. But I got to the point where some stuff's just not going to make it, and I just don't have time to keep trying.
I love it. So Straight Up Mounts. Dare I ask how much that boat mount for your kayak cost, Gramps?
I think it was 110 for the combo. That's
not bad.
There's a brace. There's a brace that goes like onto the boat, and then you can pick either 1 or 2 or 3 or side by side. So it's 2 parts, and it was pretty affordable, and they're actually really light too. But I'm gonna I'll tell whoever's watching to watch my Instagram tomorrow. I'll take some pictures and post it because I'm just gonna do a quick unboxing short, and then I really, now that I've got it in, I've got to get this stuff done. And I got to go to the Classic in 4 weeks, and I don't even have half I got my electric run, but now I got a whole lot more to do too.
You called me earlier today, something unrelated, but we started talking. Yeah. You have people fishing in Indiana, the KBF monthly challenges right now.
Yeah, we got 2 people. And they were fishing in January too. In January, in January, I think both the guys went out like 2 or 3 times and didn't enter a fish.
Yeah,
which is funny because I had another friend of mine who drug his kayak to a river, and I think he was just dragging along trying to catch a smallie, so he could put it on the board,
get the AOI points.
Yeah, but neither. So in January, neither one of them caught a fish. And so they're back at it again. And so far, there's 1 12-inch fish on the board.
Going to take first. He's going to win $30 of his money back.
But I mean, whoever wins, that's a whole bunch of points to go to the AOY race right off the bat before all the hammers are out there. So I can't blame him. And honestly, if I had a kayak rigged right now, or wasn't doing all, I would probably try to find some time, at the end of February at least, to go out there and try to jump in. But
Need one.
maybe next year.
Because I guess if you live next to one of those power plants where the water's warm and doesn't actually freeze over, you can own January, February, potentially
dude.
March.
Mm-hmm.
See, we have a power plant like that, about an hour and a half from me, and they just reopened.
Okay.
But because of the wind, it's so dangerous, they don't allow kayaks. You have to actually be in a boat.
What?
And I'm like, oh. Or we would be over there just smashing them. Now, like Antoine, Mr. Tweezy, he goes over to Illinois. He competes in theirs because Newton has a power plant lake over in Illinois.
Okay.
So he's over there getting them Illinois points early on in the year.
So what happens when people sign up and no one catches any fish? It's just a donation?
I think they just roll the money into the next one.
They roll it into the next?
Yep.
I don't know when ice off's going to be around here. We got some people are like, hey, in the comment section, I got 2 feet of ice. They must be up north, like really far up north. That's
a different
world. I don't
even
understand what world you're talking
about. And see, down at the bottom of our state, where we've had some of it melt off, at the bottom of the state in Kentucky, they've actually had some emergencies declared because there's floods going on. And then, here we go get another inch or 2 of snow up here this week. So, yeah, it's going to be rough when all that stuff really hits.
Hey, Darren, I wanted to mention a comment earlier by Sly Fox, I think it was. He said the name of the Japanese chatterbait imitation that I used.
Oh, what was it?
I think it's called the Super Break Blade.
That sounds right.
Super Break.
And it has a smaller blade. It's pretty legit. They're hard to get because you got to order them from over there. You don't really sell them around here, so you got to pay extra to get it. But it's a good.
Where'd you get yours?
Japan.
Okay,
I think
so
I paid $20-some a piece for them though.
Yep.
It's wild. Like it's some Michigan Outdoor. Let's go back to the Division 110s. Michigan Outdoorsman said they're like $25 to $30 a pop.
Yeah.
Why they?
Yeah, because
I think one.
Jack
What's so
makes
special about them?
They're JDM.
I mean, they work.
So the cool thing is they have like a wire strand that goes on the top towards the top of the head, and there's also one at the bottom. So the biggest thing about a jackhammer when you get anywhere around a tree, that the way that head is designed. Now, I have found that the newer tungsten jackhammers, or what they're calling it, the tungsten Evo, they've added a couple of little wings off the side of the head, which helps it roll over those branches. But back when they first did, originally did the chatterbait and then the jackhammer, it's it's like an archy style head, which is great for guys like me who love to skip chatterbaits. But the problem is when it gets near a branch, the shape of the head, it rolls, which means you can turn that needle point down into a branch. But these brake blades have wires on the top and one on the bottom, the other, to kind of help keep it away from the stuff that, jackhammers just love to get caught on.
It has a smaller blade as well, so your retrieve rate can be slower to get the vibration. You don't have to reel it as fast. So a slower retrieve will get you that vibration, so you can really slow roll it as well. But
it almost looks like a middle ground between a jackhammer and a mini max. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I've thrown them in already this year since I've had them a bunch of lily pads, just trying to get it stuck. And I've done, unless I get it stuck right in the wedge of the lily. You know what I mean? Right in the opening of the top of the pad. Unless I get right there, I can get through them, and I don't catch any of the stems or anything like that. So it's been good.
Okay.
Yep.
Got some comments over here. Vision 110. Like I say, you get what you pay for with them. Absolutely love them. Trevor Wagner. And then you have the trails. He says, I use both Stunnas and Vision 110s, and I catch just as many on the Stunna, but it's just Mega Bass, just has better colors. So there you go, folks.
Darren knows about those Stunnas down there in Gunnersville.
Oh my gosh. I went over to I could star comments. I don't know if anybody knows that. And then I didn't pay attention to the live, and I looked over and there's 80 comments. It's like, oh my gosh, what conversation is happening that I'm missing at the moment? I love it. All right. So let me look at some of the
bots attack us or what?
Yeah, right. All right. So what I'm using ice off, and the things that work around me at least. I like pulling back out what I was using toward the end of the season before the ice came, which is blade baits. Gramps, you use blade baits at all?
Not really. I mean, it's one of those things we always hear about that you should throw in an early season, especially, blade baits or spoons or things like that. Maybe something I start thinking about now, playing with the old forward facing.
Yeah, 100%. You'll see that thing on there for sure. It's a giant chunk of metal. So I like the blade baits. I like the cotton cordell lipless cranks because they're a lot lighter, not super heavy like a lot of the lipless out there, and so it flutters really nice and it's a lot slower and it's light. And so I'll just let those fall to the bottom and and let it just sit there on the bottom. And a lot of times they'll pick it up. And so I'm using the blade bait. I'm using a lipless, not a typical lipless, a light lipless. Wildly enough, I catch giants on the stupid wacky worm in March. Cold water, below 55. So we're talking 35 to 45 degrees. I've caught some monsters. What I'm looking for a lot in March, and especially toward the end of March, moving toward April when it starts to rain a lot. If you have a body of water that has an intake from a lake or another like swampy area that has shallow water, you're going to want to find those spots because you're going to get warmer water coming in that area. And of course, it's moving water. And so they'll be feeding. I can't tell you how many giant bass, which really helped me win a lot of the KBF challenges. It's because I found those intakes from the larger lakes that receive from smaller, shallower lakes. And they're just a few degrees warmer and it's moving water. So if you can find that, that is going to be juicy for you. Not every lake is set up like that, but I know that I'm using like the deep dive app. It's let me know where the water inflows are. If you're not in some of those apps can be really beneficial to you. So I use that. I'm going to have a Ned rig hooked up. I just upgraded to I know I'm a little behind the times. I upgraded from my behind the seat crate to a black pack. I know everyone's like, I know. This is wild and crazy. I went all in too. I only got the black pack. I got the short stack. And not only that, I put eight rod holders on it because my milk crate can only really hold 6 comfortably without me catching them all the time. And then I put like a first aid kit on the back. I put a grid lock on the front. I did a video on it recently. I like upgraded to the moon on this thing. So I'm excited about that. I don't know why I said all that, but nonetheless, I'm going to be fishing I don't even know how I got into that conversation. What was I talking about, Gramps?
You're kayak fishing obsessed. It doesn't matter.
I know. I just happened to go there. Square bill crank. I'm going to slow roll a square bill crank. I like the KVD. I like the red ones. I think they're called the watermelon crawls. And I mean, and this is hard for me. So if you're out there and you're like, hey, I'm going to try out this cold water fishing. It's ice off. You're like, hey, I'm super pumped. You get out there and you have a tendency to fish like you would during the summer. And that speed simply is most likely not going to work for you. Yeah. And it is a painfully slow speed in order to get these bass to bite. I've already heard people saying, hey, I've been out there, got skunk. And those are going to happen, especially early on the season. But I mean, painfully slow, just enough so you can feel the wobble. I mean, that is it. On a deep diving crank, you can slowly do that. On a square bill crank, depending on the water column you're in. And they get nailed. I also have a 8-inch mag draft. I have schools and schools of these what are the stupid fish called? Gizzard shads. These things are a monster. They're like this big in my lakes. Oh yeah, they are huge. This is why my mag draft absolutely gets slaughtered around here, because all of the lakes around me have giant gizzard shad, and that's what that freaking 8-inch mag draft and that color I always use. It's like in all my videos, and so I'll throw that out. It'll make the splash of the century, and I use just slow, just enough so you can see that you can feel the tail flutter. And I tell you what, I get some giants smashing that typically in the deep pockets of where I'm at. So if I can find a deep pocket in maybe 10, 16 feet, and if I can find anything where there's a steep embankment into some shallower water, fishing those holes is what has been extremely beneficial when it comes to the mag draft. I typically don't even fish the 6-inch. I own a bunch of them, but that is I'm going after donkeys, and you typically won't get a bass under 2.5 pounds. Eat it. You'll feel them nipping at it. That's a lot of fun. So you throw that thing out like pop, 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 and these little guys are trying to chew on it, but can't get it down their gullet. And I'm thinking about this year throwing on the finesse jig. And so this is what's going through my mind when I think ice off. So small finesse jig, a deep driving crank, square bill crank, Ned rig, 8-inch mag draft. And I'll, of course, have a stunner on. I recently got the, I forget what it's called, from 6 Sense, their
provokes. I got a couple provokes that I got for like $2. So I'll be throwing those little deeper dives. So that's what I'm thinking about. Wacky worm.
This is the time of the year to be hitting the Walmarts for because they're getting ready to get in this year's supply of stuff. So everything that was on the shelves last year is in those bins. Which have you gotten any good deals?
I
keep telling everybody to go, but I haven't yet.
They're going to be gone now. Everything's gone.
I wiped them out. I mean, I feel like 6 cents in my Walmart. Everything was on sale. I got some punch hooks for like $2. I wiped out all the provokes. Someone else got to them before me, or I own like 30 of them right now because they're going for $2 a pop. But yeah, I always got jealous watching everybody in all these Facebook groups be like, "Oh, I just got," and they show their haul on their bed. And it's like 75 lures, and like, "Oh, I paid $50 for all this stuff." I'm like, why doesn't my Walmart do that? Yeah. I think it's typically only the Walmarts up north because fishing season down south happens all the time, and it's in the off season.
Yeah, they're not giving nothing away.
No, they're not giving nothing away. Seth is like, I've never seen a deal like that.
No deals.
Trevor Wagner's like, I got a Vision 110 from Academy for $9. Dang. Now they do have the smaller size that they run for $15. But the full size are typically a little more expensive than that. All right. Any other tips and tricks for March? What else are you guys thinking to catch bass? Well, Seth, what do you think? We hadn't actually asked you yet. We talked about ice off, but what's going through your mind in March? What are the bass doing? How are you changing up your lure selection?
So if it's like March in the south, so like peak spawn, So if I'm fishing an event, the first thing I do, like I love sight fishing, so I try to find them on beds. And if I'm bed fishing, I will do a couple of different things. So this year I tried something new, and it's the bandito bug, but the mini size, the small size. I don't know if it has a separate name or not, but it's like 2 inches long, smaller. Okay. It's like flat. And I Texas rigged that weightless and open all the legs out, and it flutters really slow. So I like bed fishing on like weightless a lot of times. I'll throw a Texas rig, whatever, get at the bottom, but I tend to like fishing in weightless. The fish like seeing the bait come down slow. But anyway, I've been using that. So weightless bandito bug, the mini one, the tiny one, and I use white a lot of times so I can see it in the water. So if it's bed fishing, it's that. I'll throw a Senko in there. I'll throw a glide bait. I'll throw everything until they start reacting to something, and then I'll stick with that. Whatever they're reacting to, I'll usually stick with. Bandito Junior, someone said in the chat. Thank you for that. I don't even know the names of some of the baits I use. I'm just like, man, this works. Just go buy. I need this. So if I'm bed fishing, that's what I do. I use the same. I simplify. Like I run the same baits all the time. I have a whole wall. You see on the screen, a wall of baits, and those just stay up there because I always use the same stuff. It just depends on the situation. So if that's
all bigger your wall is. It's like a 3x3.
No, there's more. It's higher, and then I have a whole nother mess over here. You can't see my office right now, guys. It's my fishing office. But no, I got a lot more than that. I got all this dresser behind me. Everything in there is filled with fishing stuff. Every drawer. But so open water, I'll throw jerk bait all year long. Winter, summer, whenever. I'll throw a jerk bait. Shallow water, I'll throw a jackhammer, chatterbait style, or I'll throw that super break blade. Now this year, I'll throw a Senko. I'll throw a speed worm. I'll throw a Texas rig with like a Missile Baits baby destroyer, like an 1/8 ounce or something, depending on the situation. And then I'll punch. And that's really all I need. And I see the way fish react to my baits in open water. Right. And jerk bait has been, and then also like the little mini like strolling baits that you use for forward facing. There's like nothing that works better in open water than a jerk bait. Like the fish love. I mean, you can throw a crankbait instead, and fishing is going to change when people start using, I don't even know how to say this. When people start using like forward facing sonar and perspective mode, they're going to see that a lot of baits that they've used historically are not near as effective as other baits that you can throw. Cause you can see what the fish are doing, and you can see like, all right, I threw a crankbait by this fish. It's the same speed. They didn't like that. They didn't like that. It was their steady retrieve. They followed it the whole way. Now you throw a jerk bait in there and you stop it. They're like, bam, smoke it, So they like the erratic motions. They like it being right here in front of their face for a little bit. So there's certain baits for me, like a jerk bait. A Senko is a very productive bait for me. Though anything weightless really works well.
Are you a lover of the Yamasenkos like Gramps?
Yeah, that's the only one I use.
Okay.
The weight on that is like you can use the other ones, and a lot of people have a lot of success with the other type of Senko style baits through the other brands, but whatever the salt content is in those, whatever it is, it's like perfect. I love the way it falls and the way it flutters, and I feel like the fish do too. So so it's Senko jerk bait, a Texas rig like creature bait, a chatter style bait, chatterbait style bait, and then
whatever. And you go to on your chatter style? I mean, because Gramps owns every single one known to man. If he sees one that's like, oh, that blade on that chatterbait looks an eighth larger than the other one, I'll buy 4 of them in 8 different colors. Yeah.
No, really just gold here in Florida. I just like the gold.
There we go.
A lot of gold. So
Gramps is like, I got a box of gold. A whole entire box.
Yeah, we have golden shiners. Yeah, we have golden shiners down here. So in Florida,
I don't have a need for them up here, but just in case I travel somewhere.
Just in case you do, I got some. Gramps, how many bladed jigs do you own?
So I probably gave Jermaine Mainstream Fishing probably 30 when he dumped his yak and lost all of his.
Gave him like $1,000 in bladed jigs.
And I bet I've got 401k's worth of. Yeah, somebody's like fishing with Chatter Gramps. I truly
Chatter Gramps. You ever think about changing your name?
Well, I mean, it could. My brother was working on a bait. Well, he's got some bladed baits. Actually,
he's making bladed jigs. For everyone's like, why does Gramps stop talking? He got up to pick something up. If you're listening in, yeah, he went to go grab something. All right.
So my brother actually made me the first Chatter Gramps. And this is like a Debo special since it's got black and purple in it with a little paddle tail.
Okay.
But my brother, since he can't fish, he fishes for recreation therapy. In the Freedom Squad, we promote veteran recreational fishing. And so this time of year when he can't go fish, I gave him all of my Do It molds, and he has probably made over 1,500 jigs, Chatter Gramps, soft plastic baits. He's currently painting crankbaits, and this is just how he keeps himself occupied during the off season.
Sounds amazing.
And then he's going to donate like 2 big boxes to one of our clubs to give away as prizes. He's going to support we're doing this whole thing for a local high school team. It's a really, really small school, maybe 200 kids in the school, four dudes on the bass fishing team. He's going to supply them with like all the baits they need. I'll be doing a fundraiser for some sun shirts for these guys, because last year they literally fished on white T-shirts that they drew their school logo on. So we're going to change that this year. But but my brother actually made me the Chatter Gramps. I forgot that I had that back here behind me too. But we laugh about that.
Float this out here.
I probably have way too many chatterbait rods, reel combos for like everything. So that's like my thing.
I'm going to be the first to sign a petition to change it from Fishing with Gramps to Chatter Gramps. I just like it. Seth, you signing it?
Print a little sticker right here, put a chatter above the Gramps.
Chatter Gramps. I mean,
that's
come on.
That has to be one of the coolest signs I've ever seen on a podcast.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah, they did a great job on that. I was really happy with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to know who did that.
Someone said in the comments section, what was it about?
Got a bunch of questions. You got knucklehead news.
A combo that doesn't break the bank at Walmart.
Oh, there you go.
Good rod. So they're up a little bit in price, but I have 8 of these. It's the Abu Garcia Jordan Lee bait casting reel and rod.
Okay. And what does run?
So on Amazon right now, it's $87 for both the reel and the rod total.
So that's the step up from like the Abu Garcia Black Max that we've had like forever.
Yeah.
And plus you have Jordan Lee working on it too. Right. So that's really nice.
They were $60 on Amazon, and I got a bunch of them. And I've used those for I have ones that I've used for 2 years on Florida bass, big ones. I've caught 8-9 pounders on them. They're just a solid rod and reel they're not super expensive. They perform great. If you bust an eye out or whatever, because you travel, it's not a huge deal. And it's right now it's $87 for both the reel and the rod.
Yeah.
As a combo.
The funniest thing is I play with a lot of high end stuff these days, but I absolutely can't stand the way the high end Abu Garcia reels feel.
Oh, yeah.
You go put the Black Max combo And I fish with that all day long. And I mean, you can still grab those at Walmart for next to nothing and get people to into fishing, just starting out with some, with something so simple like that, because they just last. You can take them creek fishing, you can fall down in the river, I mean, it's crazy how good, as inexpensive as they are. I won't call them cheap because they're not, but they're inexpensive and they do a really good job on them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So back when I was
multiple years. Go ahead. Sorry, Darren.
No, back when I was, I don't tell this story very often. I just recently shared it in one of the videos. But I was out of work for 10 months, I was living with my in-laws. This was like 3 or 4 years ago when I started the YouTube channel. I needed something to do. That's why I started the YouTube channel. And back then I was Poe. And so I was getting my rods and reels at Walmart looking for the deals, and I got myself into the Lose Xfinity rod. This is a spinning rod, reel combo, and you can find these, I think, still, and they're the bright green. I can't tell you how many people asked about it because it's so loud in every single one of my videos. But that was such a great little rod, and it lasted me for multiple seasons, and I beat the tar out of that. And I would drop it in the water. I go wade fishing. Now, granted, since then I've like Gramps, you start getting to technique specific and you start upgrading your rods and reels. But I still have that bad boy, and it is a performer. And I think it's like $69. You can find them on sale, and I've had a lot of luck with it. And back when I was poor, out of work for a while, that did the trick for me. Did the trick. So there you go. There's a spinning reel and there is a bait casting reel. Gramps, any other thoughts on that at Walmart?
Yeah, I mean, that's like he said, the Jordan Lee is hard to beat, but you'll find those basic staples there, and really all you need to get started, I always tell everybody, you just need one bait cast. You don't even have to start with the bait caster. If you start with a medium heavy spinning rod, you can fish every technique there is in the book. And a lot of people will just fish with a medium to start with.
Yep.
But you just get out there and find some. And there's plenty of folks on YouTube that'll teach you how to fish with a bait caster or, line a fishing reel. We've all made a million videos on them. And I still have people to this day that are just going and getting started for the first time. I always thought it was funny when I started with fishing with Gramps, as a tribute to my grandfather, that my audience would be like teenagers. Like kids who are wanting to learn to fish. And what I found was the guys that a lot of the people that I run into are other grandparents who have young kids that they're teaching to fish, or new parents, things like that too. So when I thought that I would be, focusing on one, but now, with where we're at these days, focusing on getting veterans into kayaks and into boats and, out of the house, then I'm, more these days preaching to adults that, like me, who like to play video games and want, get them out to go do other things. Fishing for me is just a great outdoor therapy. Just being outside is, so that's something that we all enjoy.
Yeah, 100%. I got some comments over here we've been ignoring, so let's go ahead and answer some of these. Low life angler, when we're talking about, hey, what about the headbanger lures, Darren? I recently had them on the show. If you haven't heard that, and that was awesome. They got up at 3:00 in the morning from across the pond and hopped on the podcast. So tip my hat to him there. But I've been trying to get a headbanger cranky shad for months, but they are sold out. And so hopefully I'm watching their website very, very closely. I'm part of their emails. When those things go live, I'll be snatching some up. So I'm excited about the cranky shad. I think it's going to perform well, especially in that quarter water too. They're so erratic. So I'm pumped about that. Someone else had a question, and Gramps and I are actually going back and forth in the comments a little bit while Seth was talking. The best net in the game right now. Now, if you're Drew Gregory, which we had on the show last week, he's like, no net.
No net.
He does I was like picking that thing up with my hands. And I used to be that way until I started getting into tournament fishing. And I think I lost a few on the net without having the net. And I was like, if I had a net, I would landed with that one. I was like, that's enough of that. So let's go around the horn. And if you're listening in on the comments, I want to hear what you feel is the best net out there. And let's just do like unlimited budget. What's the best net in the game right now? Gramps.
Me, I use the carbon fiber Spray Bill. It's like a 6-foot net. I actually got this tip from Christine Fisher. I got this one from Christine Fisher, because the funny thing is it's long, but you can hold it with one hand. So you can really, I mean, if you fish a jackhammer or any kind of chatterbait, once that fish starts jumping, you've got about a 50% landing rate.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't tell you how many I've caught in the air by reaching as far out as I could when that dude was jumping and caught him with that net. Now, I've got 2 or 3 leverage landing nets that are sitting here doing nothing.
2 or 3? Why do you need 2 or 3 of them?
Dude, 1 is none, 2 is 1. That's the rule.
Well, that's right. 1 is none.
You got 3 of them?
That's
he doesn't even know how many he has. He said 2 or 3. He's not even quite sure how many.
Colin B. Bass and Gramps don't need to be sponsored by Gucci. Gramps needs to be sponsored by G. Loomis. If you're going to talk about G anything in this sport, it's G. Loomis. But I can't talk crap because pretty much every one of those is probably a G. Loomis or a Shimano of some sort. So,
right. So Chatter Gramps,
I've got pretty much what I want to go into retirement with.
Chatter Gramps is using a 17-foot extendable net. Okay, Seth, what do you got? When Gramps sets the hook, the next step for him is grab the net because it's so freaking long.
Boom, net done.
Yeah, boom, net. Get the net. It's like you just set the hook. I know. I got a 17-foot net I'm using. Seth.
Yeah, so I net them all with my hand. I just grab them by the lip. I used to use a net. I told this story, I think, on this podcast already, but
I don't
last
remember
time I used the net was the Hobie BOS event on the Harris chain last spring. And I lost 2 that were like, I don't know, they're over 7 pounds in the last hour of the event that would have put me in like the top 3 or 4. And I lost them while netting the fish. And
it sounds like user error. Like you need to learn.
Yeah.
Game, right, Gramps?
It's a psychological error. So yeah, I need a 6-footer. So I set the hook and net it. But what I do with the net is I force them and I just try to net them as quick as possible. Like I can't slow down. And when I don't have a net, I slow down. I take
you
my time.
Make yourself have to be more careful. Yeah,
I take my time. I fish them. I keep them like I don't turn their heads fast. I try to keep them from jumping, and my landing percentage goes up because I focus on. I got to tire them out a little bit. Then I bring them around slowly, grab them, by the lip, which not by the tongue. In my TikTok video from
grab the tongue.
I told her to grab it by the tongue. I was so excited. She's catching a 9-pounder, and I'm telling her to grab it by the tongue. Oh gosh, but
I think that needs to be a new thing. I think you just need to own it now.
Yeah.
You got to grab by the tongue, folks.
Yeah. Even if it's a jerk bait or, when I caught that 8-pounder on a glide bait in the Bassmaster event, when they're big like that, you just stick your hand in there and grab it. If you get hooked, you get hooked. Like it's just when I'm practicing, I'm not doing that. But in the event, and that hook went right into my thumb. But I didn't even feel it. The adrenaline's going. I had the fish and we'll get that off and we got the fish. We'll be all right. So yeah, I use my hand, man.
Yeah, for me, it's just, I throw enough crankbaits and jerk baits that troubles anywhere near anything open skin. It's just
the little hooks are the worst, like the jerk bait hooks and the crankbait hooks. Those are scary. Now the big ones on glide baits, they're just like giant talons, but you can avoid those.
And if you go back to dealing with smallmouth bass fishing,
that's true.
I got to get them in the net because they're just insane,
ferocious.
Yeah, I'm not going to lip those probably. Yeah.
Ferocious. All right. I used to be a no net guy for a long time, up to like 2 years ago, and Gramps kept on making fun of me in videos. Yeah, and I moved over to it, and I quickly picked it up. Right, and I don't remember a moment where I lost a bass on the net, and so. Really quick, we're like 70 people live right now. I always tell people like, hey, can you hit that like button? And then I go like after the video, Gramps, I don't know if you're like this. You're like, I wonder how you put the like button. They're like 40. I was like, there's 80 freaking people on the show. Why? All they had to do was hit the like button. That's all I'm asking. I paid $50 a month for the StreamYard. All I'm asking is freaking hit the like button. All right. Gosh.
Yeah, they don't realize we pay for the software to do
this.
The
software. I'm prepping time. All I'm asking, just hit.
That's all we need. You don't have to go share. You
can do what you want.
Hit the thumbs up.
But I would appreciate if you went and hit that like button. My goodness. All right, my net. Not gonna be a surprise if you follow the channel. I love one of the 4 nets sitting behind Gramps in the corner that everyone probably listening and would love to use, but he's hoarding them for whatever reason. Is the Yak Attack leverage net. Freaking love that thing. It sits over my right hand corner on my Bonafide P127. I actually use the rod holder that's built into the Kayak. I don't buy one of the bazookas, and it just sits there, and it's like muscle memory. I catch a bass, and I can have that thing out. But the second I feel that bass is about to jump, we can always feel that. You're like, oh, it's getting ready to jump. I can have that net out and I can catch it before it hits the water again. And so it took me a while to kind of dial that in, but I love it. They make a wide one. Not a big fan. I like the narrow ones, like so I can slide it right up the side of my kayak sometimes. I feel like with a wide one, they could get out above and below, but they're not inexpensive, but they fold over. And so I don't want a big net sticking up, and I don't like you, Gramps. I don't like a lot of things on my deck. I barely like my little GoPro that sits 4 inches on the front of the deck because I love skipping and stuff. So that's why I never want a motor up there. I think that would drive me crazy. And so I love it right behind me. And so it works. They're like $80-$90 for them, but I've had mine for a couple of years, holding up like a boss. Gramps,
you're smooth with it too, isn't he, Gramps?
Here's something that you probably didn't know, and I learned this from Gene's seminar the other day. He bought, before they went to that rubber that's in the landing nets now.
Oh yeah,
he still has the string ones, and he bought the entire inventory of those before they converted them to the new rubber because they're lighter and faster, and that's why he can have that out in under a second because he's got a lighter version of that very net, but it's the ones that still.
How many
based on
ounces are you talking about? How much like inches is he doing that faster?
It's Fluke Master, dude. I mean, they timed him. He's like 0.75 seconds from draw to fish. And you've seen his videos. We've seen his videos about how fast he is.
Who is timing Fluke Master's pull on his net? That's the question I want to know.
They've got the stats.
I know in football the stats are like ridiculous. Like, this person.
Who do we have stat track for kayak bass
He
fishing?
spit 17 times last game. But see how time he spits. You're tracking Fluke Master's net pull, 0.75.
But he's almost got me convinced to go back to the leverage landing net purely for the fact, and he made a good point. He says, like every time that I go to reach forward to grab my net, that's that point in time
slack
where
line.
you're letting some tension off versus reaching back, so he might have a thing there too. Who knows?
That's a good point. You lean over, your whole body leans over. So unless you train yourself to lean back as you lean forward to grab it. No, I hear it. I hear you there.
So I mean, who knows? I may have to give that a shot a little bit and play with it as I get the new kayak rigged and see how that goes. So since I'll be out there with the cheater box and shaking minnows and doing all the other things that Randy Blockett hates.
So good. All right, we got some comments over here. What about the Yamatanuki coming in from Fishing Fix? That doesn't come out for me until it gets a lot warmer.
It's gonna be warm.
It slays for me in July and August and June, but it stays in the old package with the 5/0 hook until those water temps get warmer. Gramps, when you pulling that out this year?
Yeah, I mean, I fish with it. I fish with it for smallies quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
I like the baby dookies on a little 2-aught ringed EWG hook on a spinning rod, kind of like where you would throw a Ned often. If I'm throwing someplace around a lot of rock and I don't want something as heavy as a Ned, that's kind of like my faux Ned, if you will, because since there's no the ring itself is the weight, so it falls and shimmies. But I like those little ones, and I'm actually going to get my brother to doctor up some and make like some of those little fuzzball Yamadukis. So we'll see if that makes any difference. Since everybody wants to make Japanese baits with the
little dice baits, I'm gonna shove something.
May as well see what the little Yamatanuki looks like with those in it.
Yeah. So they make the 2.5, 3.5, and they actually came out with the 4.5. I bought some and I was disappointed. You know why? You ever see those?
I haven't seen them.
All they did was make them longer. I was assuming they were going to be fatter. Right, you would think, and so all they did is just stretched it out, and so they didn't give it any girth. Which I was like, well, that's the whole reason I bought it. I thought it was going to be a super heavy plastic. Yeah, and no. Johnny Bennett said, "Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. We may get yelled at again." That's true. I apologize for yelling at you, Johnny. Michael Bradley said the Yamatanuki is a great skipping bait. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Gramps,
you don't see that as much in my videos because I'm not trying to advertise it to everybody here in Indiana. But yeah, that's still with the swim jig is there are baits that we talk about a lot, and sometimes there's baits we don't talk about a lot.
There are some baits we don't talk about a lot. Yeah, that is true.
Which ones are the baits you guys don't talk about a lot? What are those? Oh, shoot, he's breaking Wendell's computer.
There's always one or two, and Gramps and I will talk about these offline. There's always one or two we keep in our back pocket, right? We still fish tournaments.
Yeah.
And we understand that people, watch it and they're trying to look in their backgrounds and, and try to figure out what you're fishing. That's fantastic. That's why we're out here doing it. But there's always a few in our back pocket, or we'll wait to tell that it's working maybe a month later. Right?
Yeah, it'll show up in your roundup video at the end of the year.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
By the way,
top lures that slayed this year.
Wait a second. Darren never talked about that the entire year. All right. What else we got?
So while you guys are on, what baits are you looking at trying this year that you may not have messed with yet?
That's a good
We'll
one.
land a plane on this. We're like an hour and a half. I didn't realize this. Mostly because I missed
You
the
got
first
me
15
talking
minutes.
now.
I know, right? Seth, you want to kick us off? Sounds like you're thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thinking looking at the wall. So the Super Brake blade that I've talked about a couple of times tonight, that's new for me for this year. So that's one. Yeah, it's probably gonna be it. I'm just going with what
You self-proclaimed simplicity, right?
Yeah, that's probably all I'm gonna try out because I have baits that do everything else. I have the top water, I got the suspended, I got the mats, I got the Texas. I mean, yeah, so that's unless something groundbreaking is released this year, that's probably it. Glide baits is new for me this year too. So the Clutch Baby Boss, which is what I caught the over 8-pounder on. So
that's good to hear. I'm actually going to have Josh Plotty's on probably next week.
Oh, that's a good one. I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
So I know we got to wrap it up here soon. I tried so hard to get that Clutch Baby Boss for the Bassmaster event that I caught an 8-pounder on, that I messaged him on Instagram and his company. I know he gets a ton of messages and it probably goes to spam, doesn't see it. I went to vendors that are going to be at the Ohio. What was it? What show was he at? Not the Ohio one.
I think he was one down at Fort.
It was East Tennessee.
Yeah,
okay.
I knew it was in Tennessee
about a month ago. That I found a random guy in a swim bait group on the internet that was going to that show, went and bought me one and mailed it to me. I paid him, he mailed it to me, and I got one for the Bassmaster event.
That's
because they weren't on sale yet. He only had them at that event.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got one for the event called an 8-pounder on. It's perfect. And now he does drops, and they're like gone in like 3 seconds on his drop.
Then he goes and comes in like 17th in his Bassmaster Open.
I saw that, yeah.
So it'll be fun.
The Baby Boss is the one I have, not the full-size Boss, Baby Boss. So yeah, those are my two baits.
All right.
So following along the same thing, I actually picked up a Clutch Eco last fall when they first hit American Legacy Fishing. Of course, you can't get them. You can't get them now because he went on with Andrew Hayes at Tackle Talk, and they offered him at like 25% off. So they're back ordered forever. But the Clutch Eco is a good sub $100 spin bait, or swim bait, glide bait, whatever. But that kind of realm of that's something that I want to work on this year. And then the Brigade Baits Battle Blade.
Oh, you took one of mine.
I've missed like 2 different drops, and I've been messaging him. It was like, I'll pre-order and pay you, but the poor guy can't keep up with orders. And that one, since it's another bladed bait, I want to get my hands on them. And I said I'm gonna take them down to Texas and fish down there with them. But I got introduced to Battle Blades like 2 years ago from Cairo Ferg when she sent me one of his like early chatterbait type baits too. So the colors and the paint scheme, the work this guy does, and then he's got like finesse spinner baits as well. I'm gonna get an order of those in as well.
That golden shiner one looked
clean.
Oh yeah, for you. Look at that right there. That's the juice. Yeah.
That's
you got to go sign up for like his email, and then if you don't buy it in 20 minutes, they're sold out.
Sign up for notifications.
He's a one-man shop, and he's putting them out as fast as he can, but everybody's trying to get their hands on them.
He's going to be on the show. I'm for sure Gramps might even have him on too. I just talked to him 2 weeks ago after he got wiped out by Tackle Talk. So it'll be good. We'll have him on. He seems like a good guy. I'm following his stuff on socials. If you haven't done that, just a one-man shop, just grinding away, living the dream.
Yep.
Pretty awesome. All right. Was that all of them, Gramps?
Yeah, I think that's my 2 biggest focuses this year. Yep.
All right. I got 4. I've been thinking about.
You probably remind me of one.
It's like 4. That's like That's like a whole new, all your rods on your boat.
Well, I just increased my rod holders to two.
Oh, that's
two
true.
more. So I got 8 now. And I
Yeah.
might even run, on the side of the kayak, I could run 3 or 4 more if I get hold of one of those Yak Attack.
That's when you know
slots.
what's bite. That's when you're on them. When you bring 12 rods, you know you're on them. You know what they're. I'm just playing, Dan. I'm just playing.
I hear your sarcasm loud and clear. You keep with your simplicity. All right, so I want to figure out the headbanger cranky shad. I'm like 2 of them come from headbangers. So the cranky shad, they make a 2.5 inch, a 3 inch, a 4 inch, and a 5 inch. So I want to get a few of those. Up here, it's the black and silver. A lot of the bait up here looks like that. So I want to grab those. So especially the 5 inch, it's going to be a chunker up here. So that'll be good. And then Topwater, they make the headbanger Spitfire 4.5 and a 6.5. And so those are 2 from headbanger. I'm going to try to dial in. I'm always a proponent of the unconfidence lure, always having something on your kayak that you have zero confidence in and not untying it until you have confidence in it. So these are going to be 2 that I have rigged up. I am going to also hook up the Buka brand Trick Shad. I got one of those ready to rock and roll. Typically, I'm just kind of leaning in heavily to the mag draft just because it's been so successful for me up here. But I want to change it up a little bit. I'm going to be rocking that out. That here, let me bring it up real fast.
Yeah, I don't even know what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, someone just reminded me. I picked up a bunch of big Joshy swim baits at the Ohio show.
Oh yeah, they had a big old booth.
Throwing, yep,
100%. There it is.
Oh yeah,
A little segmented glide there. This is nice. You're fishing that bad boy. Gizzard Magic will be perfect.
Buka's been doing it for a while.
Oh yeah, and they're relatively good prices. So if you're just listening in, it's going to be a $40. Which they can get crazy. I was at the show, and I'm sure you saw it too. Sometimes something that looks similar, hand painted, could run you $125. It is wild and crazy. At least some of the stuff that I saw. I mean, I'm sure they're nice, but I know the second I buy a $125 lure, what I'm going to do with it, which is get it stuck, guaranteed. And then
I was actually on the phone with Gene Jensen one day while he was out fishing, and he was FaceTiming me, and he lost one of his swim baits that Buka had sent him. He had to hang up with me because he had to go swim and get it out of the brush pile. He got it stuck.
Oh, did he get it?
Yeah.
Hey guys, hopefully that was helpful for you. Now, if you like this type of video, the good news is I pulled this from the live podcast from Kayak Fishing Obsessed. I'll throw that entire playlist right now. I think there's 87 episodes right there, or you can check it out at kayakfishingobsessed.com. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you.